But here's what you need to understand. The nation of Israel, when they started out, they didn't have a place to call home. They didn't have a land that was their own. So God, he promised them, he said, someday I am going to give you a land with everything you need. He called it a land flowing with milk and honey. Now, I'm not a big milk fan, nor do I like honey, but when you say it that way, does it not sound awesome? You're like, I'm going to the land flowing with milk and honey. That was God's promise to the Israelites. But if you know the story of the Israelites, because they had no home, because they were basically nomads, at some point a famine came to the place where they were living, and they had to go find food, so they go to Egypt to find the food. And when they get to Egypt, the people of Egypt give them food, but they're not so happy they're there, so they actually take them in as slaves. So now the entire nation of Israel, they don't own land. Now they don't even own themselves. But God, he's promised that someday he's going to give them a place flowing with milk and honey to call home. So eventually God, he frees them from slavery through Moses. Moses frees them, but then they end up in the desert, not a place flowing with milk and honey. And the Bible tells us they wander in this desert for 40 years. 40 years in the desert. But eventually, they come to a place where they see the land that God has promised to them. And all that stands between them is the Jordan River, and it's flowing. And God says, hey, go stand in the middle of the Jordan River, and when you do, the waters are going to part, and your entire nation is going to walk over on dry land, and then you're going to get your promised land. So I want you to read to you at the end of it, okay? Here's what it says. In Joshua chapter 4, read this with me. It's on your screens. It says, when the whole nation had finished crossing the Jordan, the Lord said to Joshua, choose 12 men from among the people, one from each tribe, and tell them to take up 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan, right from where the priests are standing, and carry them over with you and put them down at the place where you stay tonight. So Joshua, he called the 12 men he had appointed from the Israelites, one from each tribe, and he said to them, go before the ark of the Lord your God into the middle of the Jordan, each of you to take up one stone on his shoulder, according to the number of the tribe of Israelites, to serve as a sign among you. Listen, in the future, when your children ask you, what do these stones mean? Tell them that the flow of the Jordan was cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it crossed the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off, and these stones are to be a memorial for the people of Israel forever. So Joshua, he takes these stones from the middle of the river, okay? And he says, hey, these stones are in the middle. To some people, they're just rocks. But someday, when these stones are all piled up, somebody's going to say, what are those rocks piled up for? And he's going to say, hey, to you, they're just rocks. But to me, what these are, this is a remembrance. This is from the middle of the Jordan. This is when God fulfilled his promise to me. This is when I realized that God had promised that I would go to the promised land. And after all of these years, this is a sign of God's faithfulness.
Hey there, thanks so much for checking out our YouTube channel. You're still here, so why not stay a while? Go ahead and drop a like and click that red button so you can enjoy some fresh new Northview Students content every single week. You don't want to miss a thing. We promise that you're going to be challenged, encouraged, and most importantly, inspired. So what are you waiting on, fam? Join us.